Hi, Tejeshwar. Thank you so
Good morning.
much for interviewing with us. For the viewers, may we request you to please share your journey and your story in your own words?
Sure. So I'm actually a Manipal graduate, MIT Manipal from mechanical engineering in 2015. And then post that I worked for 3 months in TCS and then I joined JSW Steel as a GET. And then I worked there for 5 years. I had a promotion and then after 3 years and then I was working in production planning control department in a steel plant. So that's the biggest steel plant in India. And I learned a lot over there.
Mhm.
But at some point I had that, I wanted to do more in my career as well. I wanted a jump as well. So I thought that it would be good to go for an MBA and that too especially abroad. So that was the reason I took up GMAT in somewhere around 2017. And then I prepared for 2 years. In those 2 years I did not get a good score. But then in 2019 I got a decent score. Post that I thought that in the next 6 months or so I can get even better score. But then COVID happened and then I dropped my plans of going abroad. And then I applied for colleges within India itself. So I got into XLRI and then right now I'm currently pursuing my 1 year program in XLRI.
Yeah, it's an interesting story.
Yeah, I have tried to stay within that core engineering field itself in the sense that I was a mechanical engineer and it's difficult in these days to actually stay within that field when it comes with respect to job. People do switch off from mechanical or electrical or whatever the fields of engineering they study into either IT or wherever the job opportunities are.
Right.
But in that sense, I was quite lucky that I got to work in an core industry and that too one of the biggest steel plants in India. So I was quite lucky enough in that sense. And now also I'm quite confident that I'll be continuing my journey in a core industry itself post my MBA.
That's amazing. So, in your opinion, what are a few actions or the few factors that made all the difference?
In the sense that just take one day at a time and then see somewhere you need to look back at your journey and then look forward to where you are headed. Be honest to yourself that whether there is some gap in between and then where you want to go, whether that's the right path or not, and where you are actually going, whether it's the path where you want to go or not. So somewhere down the line I thought that staying in that particular steel plant while the work was good, I thought that it's not sufficient. So I thought that why not stay in our country itself near my parents and travel all the beautiful places that we have still to explore.
It's very inspiring. So, what are the main GMAT resources that you use during your preparation, and what advice will you give to the future candidates?
Yeah, the first time when I in 2014 and 15 when I started in Chennai itself. So that time I had a coaching center over here, but that was a very short stint. But when I started seriously in 2017, that's when I subscribed to Experts Global. I believe that Expert Global is the only platform where we get 15 mock tests for GMAT. I don't think that any other platform offers that. So that was the thing which attracted to me to this particular website. I took it and then I have to be honest that I never used to get a lot of time in my first year because of the commitments, especially in the steel plant. So working as a rigorous. So it's actually a bit difficult to find time to go through your GMAT prep as well. But then whatever time I used to get, the basics and the very elaborately explained concepts actually helped me. And then with each and every mock test in Experts Global, they provide you a graph for each and every concept and each and every component of that GMAT. So that's how I prepared for my GMAT. And it actually helped me that it took a long time for 2 years, but then eventually I ended up with a score that I wanted. Eventually where it landed me where I'm right now. So in that sense, Expert Global's platform helps a lot. But at the same time, you need to figure out for yourself that, how much time you need to give.
Alright. What are a few suggestions that you will give to the future aspirants regarding their MBA application process?
Yeah. So one thing I would like to say that, it's never the one single component in any MBA application. So you have your essay components, you have your GMAT score, you have your recommendation letters, you have a ton of other things as well. So you need to prepare and give weightage to each and every component. And I would like to give my opinion, especially for those who have more than 4 or 5 years of experience, that you need not focus only on one particular component. When you have 5 to 6 years or whatever the amount of years of experience, then your profile itself is so rich that you have done enough in your life in those 5 years. You just need to reflect back upon what you have done. So just a CMAT score or just an essay component or just a recommendation doesn't do, but a good enough score and a good enough profile and how you express yourself will actually fetch you a really good college rather than just focusing your entire energy on one component. So that would be my greatest advice.
This is really good and it's very helpful. So, can you please tell us about your MBA experience?
My MBA experience, it's been really good. So it started off in January 2021, I should say, when I received my interview call to XLRA, and then I had just hoped that I would just get a call to at least one of the colleges for an interview so that I will get an interview experience so that I'll be prepared for the next year. But then by God's grace and XLRA's grace, I got in from February, and then I put my papers in March, and then since April the classes started. So it has been really hectic from that point of time. And from April it has been a virtual journey in the sense that everything has been conducted in an online platform.
Right.
And then on September, we were called back to campus. We were called to campus for the first time.
Right.
So Jamshedpur has been great. I thoroughly enjoyed the campus as well, the campus experience. So it's a small campus, but it's a lovely campus, that one of XLRA. So, and we have a rolling placement process for 1 year MBA students, unlike the 2 year MBA program where it's just in a 2 day bandwidth.
Yeah. So, can you describe your interview experience with the B school?
It was one a hell of an experience, I would say, because the thing is that I have a 1 year gap within my profile just after I passed out from my BTech college, and then when I joined JSW Steel. So the reason is that JSW Steel was going through a turmoil. The entire steel industry was going through a turmoil at that point of time, and they delayed the joining letters. So that's the reason I had to join TCS for a couple of months during that interval. So that gap actually reflected quite bad on my entire profile. So wherever I applied to, that was one of the colleges also gave me a feedback that you need to work a bit more on how you can explain that particular gap. So out of my 25 to 30 minutes interview, 15 minutes, even the XLRA guys grilled me on that particular gap itself. But this time I was a bit prepared, more prepared than the other colleges as well. So I was confident enough that whatever I answered, that I took that opportunity to start with my traveling journey as well. So I'm a traveler. I do travel a lot, and that actually started when I was in TCS in Kerala. So that was an inspiration for me. So I narrated that whole story in a way that, I took that gap and converted it into something which actually was fruitful in my life. So which I continue till this day.
That's very inspiring.
Yeah, that is something which but a backdrop or something which is not going in your favor, and you have really done things, whatever you have done in life. Even in your interview, you need not specifically mention everything about your professional life or your academic life. Even if you can link it to your personal life, especially for those guys who have 4 or 5 years experience. Since I have already mentioned that they look at an overall picture, they will look at an overall profile. So if you have done something good with your life, then it's a very good example to portray that you have that quality within you, that you can take the sourest lemon and make a sweet lemonade out of it.
All right.
And that was one part of my interview.
Oh.
And then the second part obviously went around different aspects of my work experience, like leadership and coaching and mentoring roles, and then couple of projects which I have done, and my learnings and my failures within the 5 years. So that experience actually matters, and even the smallest of the things which you feel might have added importance to your overall profile development, they actually matter a lot in that particular interview period.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, can you share about your experience and learnings from managing the application timeline?
So it actually started with a couple of colleges. So 2019 December, I had a score, my GMAT score, which final GMAT score with which I applied.
Right.
And then had my second GMAT date at May 2020. But that exam got cancelled because, COVID happened during March period. So in March and April, that was the time when I decided that, okay, since I am not able to give a GMAT, so that's why let me at least try to apply to at least a few colleges so that I get a fair amount of idea on where I stand on the application process front. That's when I decided in April that, I should start applying to colleges and that too in India. So I applied to A, B, C and ISB, and then XLRI was very late. It starts usually late. The application opens up only in October, November.
Right.
During that time, the process of other colleges also happened simultaneously. And so from June till December, some of the other colleges applications are open, either first round or second round or third round.
Mm-hmm.
So the applicants have enough time for themselves to get a decent GMAT score and then apply accordingly, even if it's a second round or third round. And then finally, from October onwards, you start cutting your interview calls. Hopefully, much before that itself, if you have applied for first round. But then more realistically, from October onwards, you get a fair chance of getting interview calls. So that's when even I got.
Okay.
And then if everything goes to plan, then within January and February, you will get your final results.
Right.
So that will be the advantage once you apply in the first round. So that's the whole timeline. So
All,
the process started from May, June, and then ended in February.
all right.
I usually tell people that, the MBA process application is like test cricket, You need to be willing to play the long game.
Right.
I believe that, it is something that, you need to keep it real.
Mm.
Yeah, there are people who will seek help and it's okay to seek help as well. But at the same time, when you keep it candid and when you keep it real, it actually helps and it helps you to connect with the college admissions team and it
Mm.
helps you communicate your genuineness as well. No matter how out of context your thought process are, it should be within the limit as well. But
Right.
at the same time, you need to keep in your own thought process and put that on paper so that it feels genuine.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then the recommendation letter part, you need to be pretty careful about how your managers are and how your colleagues are, because at the same time, when you ask for, not every office environment is such that you can openly speak about these things. So you need to find that particular right character
Mm-hmm.
and right person within your organization who can help you through this process and more importantly can articulate a good recommendation letter as well.
Okay.
I will also say this again, and I cannot stress on this enough, especially for people who have 4 or 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
that GMAT score is not the entire story.
Right.
So if you have put at least some amount and at least given 2 or 3 mock tests, then just give an actual attempt, and then see out that how it happens and then what score you are getting. And then as soon as you have the timeline to apply for colleges, please do apply. We don't realize it ourselves that we have done good enough job. But once we start preparing our applications, then we will feel that, at some point of time that, score is not the entire story. The other components also matter and it should not be the end of story. Yeah, GMAT is very important, especially for candidates who will be applying to ISB. Yeah, the cutoff is very high, but there are pretty good colleges who do consider GMAT, but they also consider a very good profile as one of the most important supporting parts of your entire profile. So that's something you need to figure out. Yeah, I understand that GMAT is a big thing, but it's not the entire.
Absolutely. So, what are the few common mistakes you think MBA applicants must avoid?
So one thing is that, you need to seek help,
Mm.
but you do should not seek help from 10 different people or 15 different people, because they will have different opinions, and so you should not go and searching for a feedback from every other person you meet and that he or she might help. They will give you an opinion, but it will really put you off track. And then trust your instincts as well somewhat. You need to take feedback only after you have done one round of complete process.
Right.
Trust your own instincts. If you don't trust your own instinct in this point of time, post your MBA, post your job, then how will you be able to manage the difficult situations which you will be handling after that? So you need to have confidence in you as well. So that is what I believe that many people lack. And then mistakes, I would say one common mistake is that people search for things. If they don't have something on your profile or resume, they try to manufacture somehow. And then, that's a very common thing.
Right.
But that's a very common mistake. And one thing, again, I'll repeat this, that, you need to believe in yourself, that if you have worked for whatever time, 4 years or 5 years, you need to believe in yourself that you have done great work.
Right.
And once you start believing, then those points will automatically come down, and then your application process will look great and very beautiful. It is just about believing and writing down those things. And that genuineness actually adds a lot of flair to your application profile.
Right.
That's very understated. People think that, if I have 10 points of my in my resume, in my application profile, that I have done this certification, that certification, it doesn't really help. Even if you have one certification, and with that certification, if you have helped 5 people, then that helping nature of yours gets highlighted, and you have that ability to use that certificate to good use, that gets highlighted. So it's about what you make use of that certification that matters, rather than the number of certifications. So that's one mistake, say, there to applicants, that you should definitely avoid. Don't go for quantity, rather go for quality.
Okay, amazing.
In this COVID times, it is pretty bleak out there, and people will be thinking that, is an education worth it? I mean, to put that much amount of money, especially when things are going on an online platform. The answer is yes, because going forward, they have to come to terms to the fact that online working mode will be the norm for coming decade or two. And then when we have to get prepared for working on an online mode in a couple of decades, it is better that, you prepare your education itself in the online mode, so that, you get prepared for that work in your very immediate future.
Right.
So people will be, I mean, even I was quite skeptical that, whether or not this online platform thing, where especially in education, will work or not. But when we come to executive MBA education,
Right.
then we have to accept that people who are coming to study, they know that they want to study. Because I have seen it in my college itself. Even the teachers are now adopting to how to teach an online mode. Since now on the platform, on the blackboard, there are a couple of subjects as well, uh, like economics and operation research, which had to be taught on blackboard itself. Some concepts had to be taught on blackboard.
Yeah.
But then they have innovated themselves, so that people, even on a landline platform, will be learning at that degree that, the education content which goes into our brains doesn't get affected. So even teachers know that fact, and they know that you will be learning on online. And when you go into a good college, and teachers will make sure that you learn it in a thorough way as well. That's the last message I will keep, that, if you want to go for a higher education degree, just go for it. Please don't get that online platform skepticism into your minds in any way along this process. That's it.
Thank you so much, Tejeshwar. All your suggestions are very helpful, and I'm sure the viewers are going to take a lot of help from your journey and from your learning. Thank you for giving us your time.
It's always my pleasure. It was pleasure talking to you, pleasure having an experience with the Experts Global team as well. And thank you for handling this interview as well, Dikshita.
Yeah, have a good day. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.